was a new album that I got quite a while ago. I had mainly got this album because I was looking for a lot of different albums that kind of had the sound of a lot of bands from the late 90s and early 2000s. And for those people who really know me, know that I like a lot of bands that came out during that time. This album came out in 2014, so it's a little bit over a year old. And when I got this album, it reminded me a lot of that sound during that time. This album featured 10 tracks, so I'm just going to kind of go through and share my thoughts on each one of the tracks. So with the first track entitled The Mixture, I liked a lot of the guitar and also a lot of the bass within this track. It really stood out. And I thought it had like a lot of strong punch lines within the vocals. And this track was a prime example of songs that I thought reminded me of a song that could be from the early 2000s, and it just kind of had like a timeless sound to it, and you know, it ended up being one of my favorite tracks from this album. Track number 2 was entitled 91367. I thought this was another track that I could jam out to, and I thought it was good that it transitioned from the first track into this track. Track number 3 was entitled Erase. Erase was my hands down favorite track on this album. I also thought it was the best track from this album. You kind of see it start out with a lot of melodic vocals and singing, and then it kind of switches to somebody screaming and yelling saying, "I thought you hate me." And with that, I thought a lot of the lyrics stood out, and kind of how it kept switching back and forth between, you know, being melodic and being heavy and kind of going back and forth. It made a great song overall. But some of the lyrics that kind of stood out to me was, and this was kind of my album highlight from this album, it went into the lyrics, "I need to know that you believe in this or just release them into deja vu." And I kind of had that part on constant loop, and I kept singing those lyrics over and over again, and I thought that was a great part from this album. You kind of see this track transition into track 4, which is Better Half. This was the interlude on the album, and this was all instrumental, and it didn't feature any vocals on this track. Track 5, which was Across the Bed, you kind of see the album pick back up with a lot of heaviness. You see a lot of yelling within this track. And I kind of love when it goes into the singing, and also like the pitch that was used in the vocals as well on this track. Track number 6 is entitled Pistol Play. I kind of felt like the energy of this track was more like track number 1 and also track number 2, which was The Mixture in 91367. Track number 7, I like the intro that was done on this track. Mainly I like the production that was done within the intro on this track, and I kind of like what was done towards the end as well. Track number 8 was entitled Neon Eyes. I thought the vocals were aggressive within this track, and also thought that the vocals were heavier in this track as well. Peace of Mind was just track number 9. This was a lighter track. Again, this was an all-instrumental track, and it was the interlude on the album. Track number 10 was Up All Night. I like the lyrics that was done within this track, and also I like the vocals as well that were done. It kind of had more of a mellow feel, but you kind of see the track, it transitions in a lot of places. It kind of goes from heavy to mellow, and then it goes back to being heavy again. And this was another track that stood out within this album. overall, there were 10 tracks on this album. I thought it was a good album. Off the first listen, I liked all of the tracks, but listening to this album multiple times, I found myself going back to the first 3 tracks over and over again and just kind of playing those. And I honestly think that with this band, they put their best 3 tracks first. And I will probably say I listened to the first half of this album more than I do the second half. If you got this album, feel free to share your thoughts. What did you think about the album in full? What was your favorite track? If you had a least favorite track, feel free to share that. And overall, what do you think about the band? This was the first album that I've listened to by the band. I'm not too sure how much more material they have. I think this was the newest album that they had out. But, you know, just feel free to share your thoughts on the band if you know more about them. But until next time, this has been Jacob Rob AJ, and I'll see you.